Morning E-Dirt, Hollywood Hills here, bringing you all the action of what is left of 2017. Nice little gap last weekend, gave me some chance to do a little bit of extra research and make sure they were on point going forward into the last few events. So what have we got up the road here? Let's talk immediate action. This weekend, the final round of the SACCS Motos, and by the sounds of it, the last time that the cars, bikes and quads will race together, as everyone knows that the big breakaway is happening for next year, with cars racing one tour and bikes and quads racing the other. Now that that little political debate is over, that's going to be good to go forward. But we still got to wrap things up for 2017, and we still got quite a few championships up for grabs at the Atlas Copco Gold 450. We're getting some good reports back from the way that the track has been laid out. Bonnie Barnard, who's a real good quad rider and a very good, competent track layout guy, because he knows exactly how to lay out a track. And if it's safe for the quads, we know it's going to be safe for the bike. So that's really, really good news for us. Atlas Copco down in Glen Harvey. It's around the Falkville, Carltonville area. So we know it's going to be mines, mine dumps, lots of rocks, one or two river crossings, and as we know, with the last couple of weeks of rain, it should be actually quite a fun track. All we can say is we know it's going to be marked well, marked clean, marked safe, so we hope that we get a real good buy-in from the bikes, quads, and everyone who's going to come along and join us for the last bit of the party, and that is going to be our last off-road race for the year before we turn our attention to all the rock hopping. I'm up here in Albert's Farm actually. I thought I'd come and actually film by a bit of a copy. Gives me that little Lesotho-esque feeling because okay, so let's finish off talking about the off-roads. So Ross Branch has already nailed that down. He finished off his championship at Harrismith, as did the overall quad winner, that was Hannah Simon. So that's two #1 plates repeated back-to-backs. The rest of the championships, though, are still up for grabs and yet to be decided. It looks like in the high school, Stefan van Deventer is going to be able to basically wipe the floor with the rest of the categories. So he's done a really, really good job on the Proudly British Yamaha, and good luck to him in the future as well, because he definitely is one of those talents that hopefully stays on the same machine. He's got a chance of either staying on 125s for next year or going into the OR3s. That's for himself and Yamaha to decide going forwards. Of course, that means he would have to step into Flanny's boots. Speaking of Flanny though, he's had an incredible season in the OR3 Off-Road Championships, and it's not a formality, but he doesn't need to do too much this weekend to nail down his first national off-road title. And for Flanman, I really hope he gets to do it. He's a really classy rider, and it was such a good pickup at the beginning of the season. He's come back from mid-season, like three-quarter marker of the season actually, smashing his ankle up, so he had to sit out a couple of races, and he'll be very happy to just try and nail down that championship. And in the OR2s, the man that didn't quite nail down his OR3 championship last year because of mechanical failures, but this year stepping onto a new brand, and the Peps and Plastics factory Husqvarna rider, Swanee, Brett Swanepoel, trying to nail down his national off-road title. And hopefully he gets that done and dusted, and then he can focus on what is coming up for the rest of the year. So really, let's talk about what's on the rest of the year. The week after this, we're going to go up to Middelburg for the final round of FJX. Can't wait to finish off the season with those guys. And pretty much after that, everyone is all eyes on the prize, getting themselves ready for Roof of Africa. Of course, we know Roof of Africa 2017, the 50th edition of Roof of Africa. Can you believe it? 50 years old. But of course, in the format that we know and love, Roof of Africa, and that's been running for about the last 8-9 years since it swung over to Extreme Enduro. That is the roof that we've really come to know as legendary. But yeah, 50 years of Roof, very, very cool. Still the winningest rider coming out of Roof, I think with 8 victories overall, Alfie Cox. But the man who's trying to chase down on that record is Graham Jarvis. At the moment, in the new format of the race, Graham Jarvis is the man to beat. He carries the crown coming forward from last year, but this year the story is absolutely epic. So let's talk, while we're talking about Jarvis, we'll go through the team roster. So we'll start out with Jarvis's team as he is reigning champion, and that's the Husqvarna team. So on his international team, Jarvis is bringing with him Billy Bolt. Of course, last year Billy was across getting looked after by Alfie Cox on a KTM, a privateer deal. This year, at the beginning of the year, in fact, end of last year, Billy got picked up by the factory squad. So Billy is going to be a man to watch out for. He's had a really strong international season, so that's on the factory squad for the Huskies. Also now, we'll talk about an international flavor coming out of the ladies category. So that's Sandra Gomez. Sandra was across here for the Lesotho doubleheader round of the final round of the National Enduros, and she did a real good job. Actually raced her way inside of a top 10 finish, I think just behind Jade Goodsight. So very, very classy rider, and she's going to be going up against Kirsten Landman. But let's stay with the Husky guys for now. So on the Peps and Plastics factory Husqvarna, Brett Swanepoel, the man who's trying to nail down his off-road title this coming weekend, will also be getting onto his smoker. That's a 300cc machine. and going and hopping on the rocks. He comes off his best international and domestic season by far, so he's in a really good shape, and he'll be looking for no less than a top 5 finish. He will want podiums, but we don't expect anything less than a top 5 coming out of him. On the rest of the Husqvarna squad, little Matty Green, he steps onto the 150, and he's riding on the Liqui Moly factory Husqvarna, factory supported factory Husqvarna, so it's going to be fun to see what he can do. Unfortunately, Kenny out through injuries. He's been waiting a long time to repair his shoulder. Unfortunately, there's no good time in a racer's calendar to get the job done, but he is out of it for now. Hopefully he comes up and waves a flag for his team and gets the job done. Henko Buerta, unfortunately, also same story, had to go under the knife just before the Sutu, so he's a no-show for Roof, and that means it's a little bit thinner on the ground for the rest of the Husky guys, but they're in with a big shout of going for the big cheese up at Roof. Alright, so Shercos, let's talk about that. Everyone knows that the main man on the Sherco squad is going to be Wade Young. He comes off a strong but an inconsistent international season. He pretty much stepped out of the national championship after having too many mechanicals and problems and decided to focus on his international commitments. Unfortunately, they also went a little bit sideways. He has been dogged with crashes, mechanicals, and just damn bad luck. So of all the riders in the lineup, especially the riders out of the Sherco squad, he desperately needs that final win, and Roof will definitely change the way he approaches going forward into 2018. He's joined by his international stablemate, Mario Roman. So this is the first time Roman has stepped across and will be racing with us at the Roof. Alongside Roman as well, who by the way beat Wade at the Sea to Sky in the last, I think, 300 meters. Touchy subject, don't mention it to Wade, he's still not quite over that one. The rest of the Sherco squad have been bolstered though, because unfortunately Justin Broughton, he's not going to be making it up there. Edwin Bester also going to be out, he's got matric commitments. Unfortunately, real life getting in the way of racing, I hate it when that happens. The rest of the guys that are going to be racing though, you've got Mitch Carveloth, the man from the USA, so he's being brought out by the team. Wayne Descartes, who's an SA satellite rider over there racing in the USA. It's his first time coming across and racing for the SA version of the Sherco squad, and the first time out for racing him on the Roof as well. And then Matty Van Niekerk, who races in the National Silver class, a big kid, and he's going to be donning the shirt as well. So we've got quite a big lineup from the Sherco boys, and it's going to be quite busy, but obviously all eyes will be on Wade and Roman. Let's talk Yammies then. On the Yamaha side of the coin, also an extremely busy squad. You've got one of the elder statesmen out there racing in the seniors category, that's going to be Bruce May. You've got Flanny, who steps up onto the Smoker. I believe he's on the Smoker. He's been doing a lot of testing on the Smoker, so he's going to be on the Smoker as well after wrapping up hopefully his OR3 National Off-Road title this coming weekend. He'll be joined by Blake Goodsight, our reigning world champion coming out of the Junior World Enduro Cross Series, and he's in good nick. He's in very, very good form. There's also, of course, going to be Stefan van Deventer, our high school upstart, who's been training with the big boys, and don't count him out. There's definitely a top 5 there if he has a really good run and if he can make the break with the big players. Worst case scenario for Van Deventer, it's going to be a top 10. And he's one of our stars of the future, believe you me. He's also stepping onto his 125 Smoker, a little bit of a lighter bike going up into the mountains. The rest of the crew will obviously be talking about the Blue Crew guys and Pee Wee Zulu and all his Chinas under the Herbalife squad. And there are a lot of support rides coming out of the Yamaha squad. So watch out for when we come back from the Roof, and we'll see if there's any guys that have actually tickled their way up and maybe toppled the charts and got themselves ahead of the factory boys. That'll be an interesting one to watch out for. But that's the boys in blue. Now let's talk about orange. Okay, so orange, that means specifically factory KTM, and on the SA side of the soil, that means it's the Brother Leader Tread factory KTM squad. You've got the man that just nailed down his first national enduro title, Scotty B, Scott Burberry. This may be the little kick that he needs to get that confidence to know that he can climb the ladder all the way to the top. He's been on the podium for Roof a couple of times. He's been on the podium for Sea to Sky. You know, he needs that big win. He's one of those riders that needs that breakout, and good luck to Scotty B. We know you've got it there, buddy. Watch out also for Dwayne Clanhams. He ran Scotty B very close the whole way through the season. Dwayno, he's had a kind of up and down international season, but he says he's changed the way he's trained and he's peaked late season. So maybe he's one of those riders that's going to come good at Roof. He's maybe left a little bit extra in the can, and he can just push a little bit harder than he would maybe on seasons past when he's burnt himself out. So that's Dwayno. Double T, Travis Teasdale. he's nailed down yet another, I think it's 3 in a row, national titles. So the big kid, and he's got to be looking at a top 3 minimum. But he desperately needs to win. He wants that win. He came to the end of the international season with a number 5 world ranking, an SA number 1. Those are great figures. But if you can nail down a roof win to underline it all, we know for riders in the past how that's changed their career path, and for Double T, that's going to be an interesting one to watch out for. He's definitely a massive threat for the big win come the end of the year for the Roof of Africa 2017. Kirsten Lattman, she knows exactly what she's got to do. She's only got one person to beat, and that's Sandra Gomez. So we know that the First Lady of World Enduro, she doesn't want to get toppled. She's worked very, very hard to make her name what she is, and she will really want to put the hurt on Sandra Gomez. It's going to change the way she approaches the race though, and obviously we're going to be keeping an eye on that little in-house battle, Husqvarna versus KTM, and the First Lady, that's Kirsten Lattman, versus Sandra Gomez. Gomez has already been across here, and she showed good form at Lesotho, but that was very much lowland riding up in the mountains. I'm calling Kirst for the win on this one as far as the in-house ladies battle goes. Then on the international side of things for KTM, the factory Red Bull KTM boys have finally made the trip across. Okay, last year we know that Gomez came across, that's Alfredo Gomez, and his first ever try of riding the Roof of Africa, very, very nearly won. So if he's done his learning and done his homework, he'll know exactly how to beat Wade Young, and more specifically, how to beat Jarvis. That's going to be a very, very interesting one. There's a quite a strong bet amongst the guys that know that Gomez can go and cream this one, and if he does, that might be the last time we see Jarvis. Jarvis is getting long in the tooth, but watch out, because Gomez, it was a strong run last year, it's going to be a strong run this year. He also brings baby Letty with him, little Manuel Lettenbichler. Little, he's over 6 foot, he's a big bugger, and of course his dad is famous for coming over for quite a while. He was part of the first wave that came across from the internationals, along with a couple of the Germans, himself, the Kiwi, Chris Birch. That was in Jade Goodsight days, and that was the first running of the extreme format of the roof. So it's going to be interesting to see what baby Letty can do, and obviously he does a little bit of riding with Alfredo Gomez. So there's a big powerhouse squad coming out of the orange team, and that for me is just going to be a very, very scary situation. Those are the 4 big teams that we're going to be talking about this week, but there are so many stories coming out of this year's roof. So if you had to categorize this year's Roof of Africa, I'm going to go out there on a limb and say this is the best, the SA boys and girls for that matter, but the best lineup that SA has ever had. Our riders are really on form. Swanee, Blake, Flanny, Altus, obviously TT, Burberry, everyone is going across the pond and making their name on the international stage. That means when they come back, it is just really classy racing, and the intensity is right up there. We're also seeing, like we did maybe 5-6 years ago, we're starting to see some big names coming across. So Jarvis, yeah, he's been a key player for the last maybe 5 years, maybe 6 years, coming across to the Roof of Africa. He brings with him Billy Bolt now. You've got baby Letty in the mix, Alfredo Gomez. It's fun. It's fun, and I don't think we're far away from getting the likes of Walker across. Maybe David Knight's going to make a return to racing when he's finished faffing around with quad bikes on the sand with Guy Martin. But this year's roof is going to be an absolute nail biter, an absolute nail biter. I couldn't be more excited, to be honest. We've got all of our SA riders in great form. They're all strong, they're all fit, they're all injury free at the moment. Please don't let me curse this one, but I can't call it. This is probably the first year I really cannot call it. There's probably 6 riders that can go for the title. And if you want an outside bet, guess who swung a leg back across an enduro bike about a month ago? Jade Goodsight, the man that's got more number 2s coming out of the roof than anyone else. So outside bet, Jade might be an interesting one. All right, so that's me wrapping things up for this week's absolute mammoth Hollywood Hills. And remember, next week I'll be bringing you all the reports from what happened at the Atlas Copco Gold 450 for the last round of the National Off-Roads for the bikes and quads. For now, remember to support everyone who supports us. That's our sponsors, EMD Racing. They've got a couple of Motul and Metzler tire and lubricant specials going forward into the roof to get yourselves prepped, locked in, loaded. And of course, our friends up at Vans Racing, one of the big Husqvarna Premier stores. They've got some specials running with the 2018 machines who have all been uncrated, and they've got some kit specials running for the bike and kits. So support the guys that support us. And for now, that's Hollywood out. And sorry for the shaky hand. Too many coffees as always. We'll catch you guys down the road.